that they were like these little things that you wound up, and they were like these little helicopters that went up into the air. And I don't know why I felt like this would be right for Crispin. And I remember being driven off the set that day when we were shooting and seeing him standing in the middle of the field with 3 of them in the air. It was like, it made me feel really good that I had actually chosen the right gift for the guy. And we got together, and I remember one great Crispin Glover story is that he wasn't always on time. And that's something that I think Ted and I can attest to, is it's really your job as an actor to be on time. Every minute that you're not there is costing somebody something. And one day Crispin was late, and suddenly a cab came screeching onto the set, and he popped out, and he looked at the first assistant director who he's supposed to check in, or second assistant director he's supposed to check in with, and he said, "Pay him." And then he walked to the I thought, now that's balls. And then the last thing is that 6 months after the film wrapped, I was in a record store over on Melrose, and there was Crispin. I said, "Hey, what's up?" And he didn't know who I was.
That's great. Any other questions? All right, we got a question back here.
And the actress that played Mrs. Voorhees, is she still around?
Yes, she's very much alive. She's just gotten to the point where it's tricky to come to these things. I last worked with her at the Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky, 5 or 6 years ago. And I guess she's been to a few since then, but she's not able to travel like she used to. So, but she's still with us. Though I read on Facebook this afternoon that Rex Everhart died. I did not know that. It was today, I guess. He was 94 years old, played the truck driver who warned what's her name, Annie, not to go to the camp. Wonderful actor. I remember him when I worked at the Shakespeare Theater in Stratford, Connecticut, and he was a player there. Really talented man, and a nice man.
Any memories from Rex from the shoot?
I have as little to do with shoots as humanly possible. I was there for one day. I would rather have a high colonic than go to a movie set. I don't know how these two gentlemen do it. It is hours of putting D-rings on people and things and focusing and lighting, and I don't like the lighting, and I think I'm going to change this, and let's not use that filter. And I'm sitting there tearing my hair out. Believe me, it is even though I don't get the adoration that my actors do, but boy, is it nice to just be home, sitting there with the IBM Selectric for Friday the 13th, but now a computer. And it is just so nice to be alone. You meet a better class of people. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how. I mean, you know, I've done some bit parts for friends. I played a drug dealer in a promotional film for the San Jose Police Department. Their SWAT team came in and busted me. I was a meth cook. All day long I'm sitting there with moved it here and whatnot, and moved it there, and then they're going to come in, and so they did all the shots of me, and it was like 4 hours of, my God, it was nothing but moving around and just pretending to cook meth. And that afternoon the SWAT team showed up, and then they did their part. Scared the piss out of me. But they don't know how to act. They know how to not kill you, and that's about it. But anyway, I don't know how these guys do it. It's amazing. I forgot what the question was, but that's my answer.
Well, making Friday the 13th with Joe Zito, he had his hands full. Most of you people don't realize this, but 90% of the cast was brand new, had never worked in a picture. This young man had worked in films before, but the rest of them were pretty new. And for him to put the picture together was a very hard job. And he took to it day after day. He got a little upset with some of the actors because it wasn't exactly the way he wanted it. But he had the hardest job on the picture. And to put it together the way he did is a credit to him. And I'm not a guy that gives him credit, but he should have a lot of credit because he did a hell of a job with it.
And he went over, and that was a big deal. You know, he went many weeks over the holiday, which was like even bigger deal, because he wanted to get it the way that he wanted to get it. And that last scene where Ted ends up on the floor with a machete in his head, I, of course, had to witness the whole thing because he used my body to get into the house. So I'm on the ground for a week. We shot that thing for a week. And I'm on the ground for a week as an extra dead.
Getting paid.
Getting paid. Getting hosed down before I lay down on the ground. Getting paid. But we went a lot longer than those movies are supposed to be taken to be shot. And that caused quite a few ruffles as time went on. You know, I have a question for Victor. Can I ask Victor a question?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I don't know that much about this. The whole iconography about the fact that people had sex and then they died. That's a thing, right?
Yeah, always.
Not always?
No,
You just have a stroke.
most of the time.
Was that part of what your creation was? Was there some kind of element in there that was associated with the fact that once you have sex, you die?
Yeah, I mean, there were characters in Friday the 13th who died and didn't have sex. But I have always
have sex.
Jason.
It is, I think horror movies have always been, since Frankenstein, very Victorian in their ways. And one of the justifications that I think allowed at least the Victorian audience and even into the 30s and 40s here, allows you to be, it's okay for you to be there and watch it and enjoy it because there's a moral core to it. And that's that if you break the rules, you get killed. You know, if somebody says don't go in there, you go in there, you get killed. So there's a kind of a, even though I was not consistent, I mean everybody didn't have sex and everybody didn't die. Poor old, what's his name? Nettie. Nettie didn't. Nettie had only his mind, and he got his throat cut. So, but yes, it's definitely, and it's what I inherited from Halloween, and I certainly got it from Dracula. And I think that if sex is not part of horror, I think that's what allows it to be as much fun as it is.
I know it's true because I've been dying since I was 16.
Yes, the French call that the little death, the Timor, the after, whatever.
Any other questions for these gentlemen? Anyone? Raise your hand. Okay.
This is actually for Victor. How long did it take you to write it? And if you could write it again today, would you still use those same morals of sex and then death?
Okay, 2 weeks. You know, after Friday the 13th and Strangers Watching and a couple of other films that did not go as far, I worked in daytime television and wrote for 25 years with people like Susan Lucci and stuff like that. But my first mentor in that was a wonderful writer named Peggy O'Shea, who'd done radio and early television and all kinds of other stuff. And she nicknamed me the glib little bastard the first week she met me. I'm just fast. I mean, what can I tell you? And so it was literally 2 weeks for the first draft. But the hardest part was the week before that, where in order to fulfill the Carpenter Hill outline, I had to find a place where adolescents could be, where they could not be helped by outside forces. The cavalry couldn't come, the militia couldn't come, the state police couldn't come, and so that was the hardest part. It seems rather odd and obvious now that a summer camp before it opens is an ideal location. Well, in order to come up with that ideal location, I went through about 65 other locations, and I would type them all out and come up with them, and then I'd go to, Sean lived 20 minutes away, and I'd go over to his kitchen, we'd go through them, and no. Finally, when I came up with summer camp, that was it. And it worked really nicely. Trying to remember the second part of the question. And then after, in terms of, just as a side note, a footnote, the one scene I did not write in the movie is the motorcycle scene. with Motorcycle Cop, and I know Ron, what's his name, is a convention favorite, and a lot of people love that scene. But I had no power to say, come on. I mean, I said to Sean, this is insane. But because I didn't want, in order for that location to have its kind of isolation, I didn't want cops to be coming in on motorcycles or, you know, the Navy to come across in a whaleboat. So, I mean, you could have had people flying in all over, but that was the whole point. What Carpenter and Hill did that was so brilliantly was that it was Halloween, and every time Jamie Lee Curtis tried to get help, the adults said, it's just kids. So I had to find something at least as good as that.
You said that you had a list of possible locations. Was there a close second to campground?
Not that I remember. I mean, nothing just leaped off. Like, you know, because, I mean, you can put a bunch of randy teenagers anywhere you want. And you can put them in the back of a pickup truck. But it doesn't lend itself to 60 or 90 minutes worth of terror, depending on the truck, I guess. But yeah, I don't remember. But I mean, we went through them. Birthday parties where the adults aren't there, houses, blah 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 blah. You know. So.
I think we have time for one last question. Back there. Yes, sir.
Came in a little late, hopefully this wasn't already covered, but what was your inspiration for the actual Jason Voorhees character?
Mine? My actual inspiration was that he was simply a child. I mean, Tom Savini and Sean came up with the Ari Lehman makeup. No way did I envision him that weird. And when you figure that, you know, in my film, basically the ending is a direct steal, shot for shot, from Carrie. You know, when the hand comes up out of the grave, and then the woman wakes up in the hospital, and so it's, I mean, you know, you steal from the best if you're going to steal. I had the line, I justified Mrs. Voorhees' special attachment to him because he was in some way disabled. And I didn't want him physically crippled because that would be tricky. So he was just supposed to be a slow child, but in no way did I envision him monstrous looking. Perhaps he was, you know, retarded in some other ways, fine, but he was just, you know, you saw him in a flashback calling for help, but Mrs. Voorhees wasn't there to see the flashback, so that was all imaginary. And so I needed him to be a special kid. And then, of course, my favorite part is the shrink. I told some of you this afternoon. My second shrink of 3 said, I can't believe you don't know why you had the killer, the woman, and especially this woman doing what she was doing. And I said, what? She said, Mrs. Voorhees was the mother you never had but wished you had. I said, what? She said, well, from what I've heard over the weeks we've been together, your mother, if you had drowned, would have said, well, you only have yourself to blame. I told you not to swim half an hour after eating a tuna fish sandwich. So, anyway, and Mrs. Voorhees was just fulfilled something hidden and dark and wonderful inside me, so that I really, you know, that's where my love lies. And as much as I love all of the sequels, I love the concept, the fact that this thing just keeps on going. My love for it is that here's a mother who said, my son was killed because these people weren't paying attention, and they're going to pay, and anyone who even looks like them is going to pay. Ooh, I like that. So it's part of my package. Thank you.